I woke up the morning of my sister's wedding, and half my hair was gone. No warning. No explanation. Just uneven chunks like someone hacked at it in the dark. And when I asked what happened, my mom said, "You were stealing the attention." That's when I realized this wasn't about a wedding. It was about control. And that day, I took everything back. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. You ever wake up feeling like something's wrong? Yeah, that was me. The morning before my sister Madison's wedding, I opened my eyes, reached up to brush my hair back, and felt nothing. Not in the poetic, I felt empty kind of way. I mean, literally, there was nothing there. My hair. My long, wavy, ash blonde hair that I'd been growing out for the past 3 years. Gone. I sat up, heart pounding. First, I thought I must have been dreaming. I stumbled out of bed, still half asleep, and rushed straight to the mirror above my dresser. And that's when I screamed. Half my hair was gone. Not shaved clean. Not even like a style someone attempted. It was jagged. Uneven. Like someone had hacked at it with kitchen scissors while blindfolded. Choppy pieces hung awkwardly by my ears. Strands stuck out in weird directions. It was a nightmare. Only I was wide awake. I was shaking. My hands, my chest, everything. I didn't even cry at first. I just stared at my reflection, trying to understand what the hell had happened. And then, I heard voices outside my door. Laughing. Plates clinking. Someone, probably Mom, telling someone else to hurry up and get dressed. I walked out into the kitchen, still in my pajamas. No shoes. Eyes swollen. And there they were, my parents. Mom looked at me like I was being dramatic. Dad didn't even look up. Just sat there drinking coffee like it was a normal Sunday. I asked them what happened. Mom blinked and said, "You should have seen yourself in that bridesmaid dress, Ava. You were stealing the attention. It's your sister's day." Like I was supposed to apologize for existing. Dad? He shrugged. "You're still going to the wedding, right? We don't have time for your moods today." That was the moment something broke in me. Not just because of the hair, but because they didn't even pretend to deny it. They just did it, cut my hair while I was sleeping like it was completely reasonable. Like I was some doll they could adjust to fit the family photo. Just so I wouldn't look too pretty standing next to Madison. See, growing up, Madison was always the star. The princess. The one with the big birthday parties, the expensive dresses, the praise from everyone at church. And me? I was the quiet one. The helper. The one who gave up things so Madison could shine a little brighter. But over the past year, something had shifted. I got promoted at work. Started feeling more confident. Bought my own car. I even picked out a bridesmaid dress that I actually felt beautiful in. It was soft plum with a delicate neckline and open back. I did my makeup trial the week before, and for the first time in forever I felt good about myself. But I guess that was too much for them. Because apparently, how dare I feel good on Madison's big day? I went back into the bathroom and sat on the floor. And this time I cried. But not just for my hair. I cried for all the times they made me feel like less. Like I had to dim my light so Madison could shine. Like I owed them something for being second best. I thought about skipping the wedding. Just leaving. But then something inside me sparked. I wiped my tears, got up, and called the nearest salon. I walked in there looking like a mess, and asked them to fix it the only way they could. Buzz it off, I told the stylist. All of it. She hesitated. "You sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything," I said. When she was done, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize myself, but not in a bad way. For the first time in my life, I saw someone strong. Then I stopped by a local boutique and bought a new dress. Not the lavender bridesmaid one my mom picked. This one was black. Sleek. Minimal. Bold. The kind of dress that didn't beg for approval. When I walked into the wedding venue later that evening, heads turned. Not because I looked beautiful in the traditional sense, but because I looked like I didn't care anymore. Mom gasped. Dad stared. Madison blinked like she didn't even know me. I didn't apologize. I didn't explain. I just walked past them like I belonged there because I did. The ceremony started, the vows were said, the crowd clapped. And then the speeches began. When the best man finished his cheesy toast, the mic was left unattended. And I did something even I didn't plan. I stood up and walked to the front. "Hi," I said into the mic. "I'm Ava Madison's sister." Pause. Deep breath. I just want to say congratulations. Madison, you've always had everything: attention, love, admiration. And somehow that was never enough. But today I realized something. I'm not here to be small anymore. I'm not here to blend in or make others comfortable. So to my sister and to my parents, thanks. Because without you, I would have never found the strength to stop hiding. There was silence. Then one or two claps. And I walked away. That night I went home alone. But for the first time, I didn't feel alone. I felt free. And I never let them cut me down again. I'm Ava Monroe. I'm 22 years old. And my whole life, I've been the background character in the story of my sister Madison. She was the golden child, the favorite, prom queen, homecoming queen, student body president, you name it. My parents worshipped the ground she walked on. And now, of course, she was getting married to some picture-perfect rich guy from Connecticut. His family owned boats. Plural. Me? I worked full-time through college, sometimes double shifts at the coffee shop just to keep the lights on in my tiny off-campus apartment. No fancy dresses. No designer bags. No family vacations. I paid for everything on my own, and I guess part of me hoped that someday maybe I'd finally be seen for who I was. But in my family's eyes, I was always the other sister. The one who kept her head down. The helper. The one who'd drop everything if Madison needed a ride or a favor or just someone to stand in the corner and clap. When Madison got engaged, I was happy for her. Truly. She looked so excited, flashing that huge diamond like she just won a game show. And I remember thinking, maybe this time, I'll get to just be her sister. Not her shadow. Maybe they'll let me have a moment. A dress that I choose. A hairstyle that feels like me. But no. From day one, my mom took over everything. She picked the color scheme, the shoes, the hairstyle, even the nail polish. I wasn't allowed to wear my hair up, even though I always wear it that way. She said it hid my features. That I should let my natural beauty show. At first, I thought it was a compliment. Until the second dress fitting, when Madison saw me in that soft plum gown and gave me a look. And then Mom said it out loud. You look too good, Ava. Tone it down. It's Madison's day. I laughed awkwardly, thinking she was joking. But she wasn't. I tried to shrug it off. Tried to stay in my lane. Smile for the group photos. Do the sister thing. But it hurt. It always hurt. They kept me in the wedding, of course, but only on their terms. Like I was another flower arrangement to be managed. The hairstylist was instructed to leave my long blonde waves down. No curling, no accessories. Keep it simple, Mom said. We don't want people getting distracted. Distracted by me? It was a weird thing to say, but I brushed it off. I just wanted to survive the weekend. The night before the wedding, we all stayed at the family house. A big old colonial with creaky stairs and uneven floorboards. I slept in my childhood room. The same posters on the wall, same tiny twin bed. I brushed my hair one last time before going to sleep. It had taken me years to grow it out. Years. It was the one thing I liked about myself. The one part of me I felt proud of. And when I woke up the next morning, it was gone. At first, I didn't realize it. I reached up sleepily to tie it back and I felt air. My hand froze. I reached again. Choppy ends. Missing pieces. Panic shot through my body. I stumbled to the mirror. And I just stood there staring at myself. My hair. My identity. Butchered. Half my head was unevenly chopped. Jagged lines where scissors had clearly gone wild. Strands missing. It looked like a prank, an act of hate. And in that moment, I just knew. I knew exactly who did it. I walked out of my room in silence. In the kitchen, my mom was scrambling eggs. Dad was reading the paper. Madison was nowhere to be seen. They didn't even flinch when they saw me. Didn't gasp. Didn't act shocked. Just looked at me like I was the one ruining everything. What happened? I asked, voice shaking. No one answered at first. Then Mom glanced at me and said, You should have seen yourself in that bridesmaid dress, Ava. You were stealing the attention. It's your sister's day. I couldn't believe it. I stood there, barefoot, humiliated, and she said it like it was justified. Like it made sense to sneak into my room in the middle of the night and cut off my hair. To physically alter me, so Madison could have her moment. I turned to my dad for support. He didn't even look up from his coffee. Just said, Let's not make this into something bigger than it is. And in that instant, something in me shattered. Not just because of the hair. Not even because of the wedding. but because I realized I had never mattered to them. Not really. They didn't want me to feel confident, or happy, or noticed. They wanted me quiet, pretty enough to smile in pictures but never enough to be remembered. And you know what? That's the moment I stopped playing along. That was the day I stopped being their accessory. That morning, I left the house and walked into town. I found a local salon and told the stylist to shave it all off. She paused. "You sure?" And I said, "I've never been more sure of anything in my life." When I looked in the mirror after, I didn't see weakness. I saw freedom. No more hiding. No more shrinking. No more being the background character in someone else's life. They tried to cut me down, but all they did was set me free. I cried in silence in that bathroom for an hour. Not because of the hair. Not because of how it looked, though it was awful. Messy and jagged like someone attacked it with dull scissors. I cried because of what it meant. This wasn't about Madison anymore. Not really. It was about control. It was about all the little ways they chipped away at me day after day, year after year. Silencing me without words. Making me feel like I was too much and never enough, all at the same time. Pretty but not too pretty. Smart but don't speak up. Present but stay in the background. They didn't cut my hair because they hated me. They cut it because I was beginning to love myself. Because for the first time I walked into a room and didn't shrink. I wore a dress I liked. I stood tall. I smiled like I believed I belonged. And that scared them. They didn't want me to take up space. They wanted me small. Quiet. Plain. Easy to ignore. Easier to control. I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't even recognize who I was anymore. But not because of the hair. Because deep down I knew I had a choice. I could stay in that bathroom broken and humiliated. Or I could stand up, walk out, and write the next chapter myself. Something inside me, something fierce and done being afraid, snapped. I wiped my face. Put on a hoodie. Slipped out of the house without a word. I didn't know exactly where I was going, but I walked. Down the road. Past the bakery, past the coffee shop I used to study in during college breaks. And then I saw it. A small salon with a handwritten sign in the window. It wasn't fancy. Just a few chairs, a giant mirror, and a woman who looked up at me with wide eyes as I stepped in. She asked me if I had an appointment. I didn't. She asked me what I needed. I told her, "I want you to buzz it all off." She blinked. "Like, completely?" "All of it," I said. "Clean. No styling. No fixing. Just take it off." She studied my face for a second. I think she saw the pain in my eyes, the anger hiding just beneath it. She nodded slowly and led me to the chair. I watched as chunks of my hair fell to the floor. And with every pass of the clippers, I felt lighter. Like I was shedding more than just hair. I was shedding years of being someone I wasn't allowed to be. When she finished, I stared at my reflection. It was still me. But now there was no hiding. No curtain of hair to soften me. No way to be small. I looked strong. Exposed. Real. And for the first time in a long time, I felt in control. I thanked her, left a tip I probably couldn't afford, and stepped back into the sunlight. People stared. I didn't care. I walked with my chin up. I wasn't going back to wear the bridesmaid dress my mom picked out for me. I found a small boutique down the street, walked in with my buzzed head, and asked the saleswoman if she had anything in black. She handed me a dress. It was simple. Elegant. No glitter. No lace. Just smooth fabric, a fitted waist, and a neckline that said, "I'm not here to apologize." I bought it, changed in their dressing room, and took the longest breath of my life. Then I made my way to the wedding venue. It was already packed with people when I arrived. Lush flowers. Soft string music playing. Rows of perfect white chairs lined with bows. Everything was curated. Controlled. Just like my family liked it. Until I walked in. The moment I stepped through the doors, people turned. Not because I looked pretty. Not because I looked polished or ready for pictures. But because I looked like someone they didn't recognize. I saw it in their eyes. Shock. Curiosity. Maybe even respect. My mom's jaw literally dropped. She didn't say a word. Just clutched her pearl necklace like she was about to faint. Madison turned slowly from across the room, still surrounded by her bridesmaids. She locked eyes with me. Narrowed hers like I just ruined her big moment. And my dad, he was the one who finally came over. Pulled me aside, his voice low and annoyed. "You're embarrassing us," he hissed. And right there, In the middle of the carefully decorated venue with all the judgmental whispers swirling around us, I looked him straight in the eye and said, "You did that all on your own." He didn't respond. He didn't have to, because in that moment for once he had nothing to control. No script. No say in how I looked, walked, or spoke. I was done playing the role they wrote for me. I took my seat, head held high, and I watched that entire wedding with a calm they couldn't shake. Not because I wanted to ruin it, but because I refused to disappear anymore. I wasn't the background character now. I was the girl who showed up exactly as she was, unafraid, unfiltered, and finally free. And no one, not my mom, not my dad, not even Madison, could take that away from me ever again. I wasn't going to say anything. Seriously. I planned to sit through the ceremony, smile when I needed to, maybe fake a laugh or two during the speeches, pose for the obligatory group photos, and leave quietly. That was the deal I made with myself the moment I decided to show up with my shaved head and black dress. I told myself, be calm. Be classy. Don't give them a reason to say you made it about you. And for a while I stuck to that plan. I sat there in the second row alone because none of the other bridesmaids wanted to be seen next to me. I watched Madison glide down the aisle in a dress that cost more than my rent for a year. I listened to the pastor recite his lines. I clapped when they kissed. I smiled for the camera. I played the part. I did everything right. And then came the speeches. The best man went first. He was exactly what you'd expect, charming, loud, probably had too many drinks during cocktail hour. He told stories about Madison's husband, made everyone laugh, threw in a few sweet lines, and ended with a toast that made the room, all in unison. Then the DJ asked if anyone else would like to say a few words. And the mic just sat there, waiting. There was a moment, just a breath where no one moved. And in that breath, something inside me cracked open. I thought, why not me? Why not now? I didn't even realize I had stood up until I heard my chair scrape against the floor. A few heads turned. Mom immediately stiffened in her seat. Madison's smile froze like she was trying to decide whether to look supportive or horrified. I walked slowly toward the front. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my teeth. But my hands? Steady. I took the mic, looked out at that sea of polished, perfect faces, and breathed. Just once. And then I spoke. "Hi. I'm Ava. Madison's sister." My voice sounded clearer than I expected. Stronger. A few people nodded politely. A few more shifted in their seats. I looked right at Madison, then at my parents. And I just want to say, congratulations. Pause. Deep breath. Madison, you've always had everything. The spotlight. The praise. The love. You were the favorite. The one people notice first. And for a long time I convinced myself I was okay being in your shadow. People started glancing at each other. Mom narrowed her eyes like she wanted to leap up and pull the mic from my hands. But I kept going. But today isn't about your dress. Or this venue. Or how perfect everything looks from the outside. I looked around the room. Today should be about honesty. So here's some. I hope your new family treats you better than the one we came from. You could hear a pin drop. No clapping. No shocked gasps. Just silence. The kind that makes your ears ring. Madison stood frozen, bouquet clutched in her hand, expression unreadable. My mom looked like she'd swallowed a lemon and it got stuck halfway down. She reached out as if to signal me to stop, but it was too late. I had already said the thing I never thought I'd be brave enough to say. And I didn't apologize. Not with my eyes. Not with my words. Because I wasn't sorry. I handed the mic back to the DJ and walked back down the aisle. But not to my seat. I kept walking. Right out the side doors. No one followed me. No one stopped me. And that's how I knew I had finally taken my power back. Out there on the back lawn I let the cool air hit my face. I sat on the stone wall near the garden and just breathed. My hands finally started to tremble, but it didn't matter. I had done it. For the first time in my life I said what I needed to say. Not to hurt anyone. Not to cause a scene. But to be seen. To finally be heard. A few minutes later, a bridesmaid I barely knew came outside. She didn't say much. Just sat next to me and passed me a glass of water. After a while she whispered, "That was the realest thing I've heard all day." And I knew I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I was just done pretending. Inside they carried on like nothing had happened. Because that's what people like my parents do. They pretend. They polish over cracks with smiles and champagne and Instagram posts that say, family is everything. But me? I chose something different. I chose truth. And even if I was the only one who walked away with that, it was worth it. Because I walked away free. I didn't need their approval anymore. I didn't need a seat at their table. I had finally made my own. And it was built on something 1,000 times stronger than tradition or blood. It was built on me. It's been 8 months. 8 whole months since the wedding. Since I stood up in front of a room full of people and told the truth. Since I walked away from a family that only knew how to love me on their terms. My parents haven't called. No emails. No texts. Not even a birthday message. And Madison? She blocked me on everything the day after the wedding. Instagram, Facebook, even Venmo. And you know what? That's fine. Really. Because I learned something that day, something I think deep down I always knew but was too scared to admit. Standing up for yourself might cost you people. But losing people who never saw your worth in the first place? That's not a loss. That's freedom. And once I tasted that freedom, there was no going back. I moved out of the apartment I was renting from a family friend. Packed up everything I owned and found a tiny, sunlit studio in the city with creaky floors and a view of a fire escape. To someone else it might not look like much. But to me, it was mine. No expectations. No rules. No eyes watching me every moment to make sure I stayed in line. I got a job working for a nonprofit that supports young women in crisis. The hours are long, the stories are heavy, but I go to bed every night knowing I'm doing something that matters. Something real. And somewhere in the middle of all that chaos, between learning to cook for one and figuring out how to fix a leaky pipe with YouTube tutorials, I started writing. Not just in a journal, but online. I built a small blog, just for me at first. I didn't even put my name on it in the beginning. I was still afraid, still recovering from years of being told to sit down, to quiet down, to not make things dramatic. But then one day, I published my story. Not the polished version. Not the look how strong I am now version. But the raw, ugly, honest version. I wrote about what it felt like to wake up and find your hair hacked off by your own parents. What it felt like to realize they cared more about appearances than their daughter's dignity. What it felt like to finally stand up, and the silence that followed. And then, something incredible happened. Other women started sharing their stories too. Women who had been cut out of family photos. Women who were told they were too loud, too emotional, too much. Women who had been made to feel like background noise in their own lives. They reached out in emails and comments, some with just a few words. Thank you for saying it out loud. I thought I was the only one. You helped me find my voice. And suddenly that little blog wasn't just mine anymore. It became a space. A community. A kind of soft rebellion against the roles we'd all been told to play. It wasn't about blame or bitterness. It was about truth. About healing. About choosing ourselves loudly and without apology. And me? I kept writing. Every week. About boundaries. About rebuilding. About what it means to forgive and what it means when you choose not to. And every time I hit publish, I felt like I was piecing myself back together. One word at a time. And yeah, I still get moments of doubt. Sometimes I stare at old photos, back when my hair was long and my smile was fake, and I wonder if I could have done anything differently. Could I have been easier to love? Could I have stayed quiet a little longer? But then I remind myself. That girl with the long hair? She was exhausted. She was shrinking to make other people feel comfortable. She was never going to be enough for them, not because of who she was, but because they refused to see her. And guess what? This buzz cut? It suits me. It's not just a haircut, it's a declaration. I don't need soft edges to be worthy. I don't need to hide behind layers to be loved. People see me now. And not just see me, they hear me. I'm not just the pretty sister. I'm not the quiet one. I'm not the emotional one or the problem or the dramatic one. I'm Ava Monroe. Bold. Brave. Honest. The version of myself I used to dream about becoming, back when I was too afraid to speak above a whisper. And I know now she was inside me the whole time. Waiting. Ready. All I had to do was let go of who they told me I had to be. And make space for who I really was. I'm not saying it's easy. I still carry the ache of what could have been. I still wonder sometimes what it would feel like to be loved by a family that didn't ask me to disappear in order to be accepted. But here's the truth. I'd rather be alone in my truth than surrounded in silence. I'd rather be free than tolerated. I'd rather be real than perfect. And if I had to lose them to find myself, then it was worth it. Because now, I'm not just surviving. I'm living. Fully. Fiercely. Freely. And this time on my terms. So yeah. Maybe I lost a family that never really saw me. But what I gained was me. And I wouldn't trade that for anything. Bell like and subscribe outro spoken style. If this story touched you or reminded you of your own, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, your voice matters, even when they try to silence it. We post new stories every week, so hit that bell icon and we'll see you in the next one.